Singing the Blues, Part 3. After Jason's first gig as an opening act, he got invitations from many media houses who did interviews and then ran stories about him. They hailed how he was a rising star on the country's music scene and how his great performance at Ace's show had signaled the takeoff of his musical journey. With the publicity that the newspapers gave him, Jason started gaining a fan base that steadily grew in leaps and bounds. The music promoter who had offered him the opening act gig volunteered to mentor him for free. The first thing that he advised Jason was that although success in the music industry could be attained, it would not be easy and would not happen overnight. His mentor also advised him that talent alone would not lift him to stardom, but a combination of talent and many hours of hard work were the ingredients that would ensure his success. A few months later, Jason met my mother for the first time and the day was memorable for us. After I did the formal introductions, my mother said to him, "I'm happy to finally put a face to the guy whom my daughter fell head over heels in love with." Jason responded, "I am happy to finally meet the mother of the love of my life. Now I see where she got her good looks from." I stifled a giggle because Jason tried to impress my mother with flattering words. But I knew that flattery would have no effect on her. As we ate our snacks, my mother conversed with Jason, while I listened. Her first question was all right, but after that, it sounded more like she was interrogating him. "How did you meet my daughter?" she asked, and Jason elaborated to her how we had met. "I'm just curious to know if you do music full-time, or as a hobby or side hustle," my mother went on to ask. "I ask this because having a proper job gives you a reliable income. Being a musician is a full-time job," he responded. "But, as a plan B in case I don't make it big in music, I have a marketing qualification which I can use," he added. My mother went on to say, "The odds of becoming successful in the music industry are very low because there's tough competition." Jason insisted, "I'm willing to take that risk and who knows? Maybe someday I'll become successful." My mother went on to ask Jason a barrage of questions which clearly showed that while she had nothing against musicians, she had everything against the musician being her daughter's boyfriend. Fortunately, Jason was well prepared, and he gave her satisfactory answers. At last, my mother said to him, "Whether I like it or not, my daughter is determined that you're going to be part of her future. I've also realized that having the guts to meet me knowing full well that I'm against my daughter dating a musician, is a sign that you're serious about her. So, because of that, I will give you my blessing." I got up and gave my mother a big hug, and as Jason shook her hand, he said to her, "I truly love Sylvia. She is both my wife-to-be and the future mother of my children." Fast forward a year later and Jason was ranked amongst the country's top musicians. He had released a successful album. One of the songs on his album was composed for me, and each time he performed it on stage, he first gave me a shout-out. It was inevitable. I was the love of his life, after all. Jason was excited when he received an invitation to participate in a 6-month music exchange program with an international music academy from Germany. He was due to leave the country in a month's time and looked forward to his first travel abroad. Locally, a company had signed him up as their brand ambassador. He often told my mother that he always knew that money would follow his talent. Dating a celebrated musician was exciting, and some of the perks included attending endless parties, getting VIP free tickets to music shows, and hanging out with celebrities. But, on the other hand, it also came with some challenges. For instance, we had to maintain a flawless public image to impress Jason's fans, and we had to do many photo shoots to keep our photos trendy. The facade which we fed the public annoyed me. It was not only Jason's musical prowess which drew women to him, but also his charming good looks. It was uncomfortable for me when women flirted with him and purposely ignored my presence. The biggest challenge we faced is how Jason's life was so busy that he was forever working hard. This resulted in him lacking time and attention to devote to our relationship. His weekends were always booked with gigs, rehearsals, or recordings. I had thought that he would put me above his career, but it was painful to realize that Jason's music career had now taken precedence over our relationship. I could not continue having to squeeze time out of him, and instead of getting quality time, I only got crumbs of his time while music got the whole cake. It was after 2 weeks of not seeing Jason that I decided to pay him an unannounced visit to his flat. I'd bought 2 pizzas that I looked forward to devouring with Jason. I was shocked when my knock was answered by a young woman who appeared to be about my age. There was an awkward silence as a million questions raced through my head, my heart rate increased, and my muscles got tense. I breathed in deeply and told myself not to jump to conclusions and assume the worst. I had to draw every ounce of my self-control to remain calm because I did not want to cause a scene. "Hi," I said, trying desperately to sound calm. "Hi," the young woman responded. "Is Jason in?" I asked. "He went out 30 minutes ago. I'd like to come in and wait for him." The young woman was hesitant, and she said, "I must first call Jason to ask if it's okay to let you in." I was tempted to push the young woman aside and walk into my boyfriend's flat, but fortunately, my good sense won and advised me not to do it. Before I could even tell her that I was Jason's girlfriend, she'd already dialed Jason's number and put the call on speaker, so I could hear her conversation with him. "There's a girl who's here to see you," she told him. "What's her name?" he asked. The young woman motioned to me to say my name. I acted on impulse, and much to her surprise, I grabbed her phone from her and said to Jason, "Hello, my love. The lady here thinks I'm just a random visitor." "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," Jason apologized. "I'll be home in 5 minutes and clear the air." The young woman tried to conceal her shock and annoyance to learn that I was Jason's girlfriend, but I noticed this and was not surprised. She'd probably started playing her cards to win Jason's heart. She reluctantly widened the door to let me in. I didn't bother to ask her why she was in my boyfriend's flat because that was a question that Jason was going to have to answer when he returned. I could not wait for Jason to return and tell me what was going on. I sunk into a couch as the young woman went into the kitchen and started preparing food. Moments later, 2 other young women walked out of the guest bedroom and joined her. I heard them speaking in hushed tones and I guessed that they were discussing me. End of part 3.